officer, I noticed that you continue to speak with Portland Henry throughout the duration of the video. Why is it important that you were speaking with him?
So, trying to establish where this actually occurred. I'm asking him, told me the story, so he's not familiar with the area. So, every time you see him going like this, he's finishing the story, but every time I'm asking him, and trying to ask him if he recognizes certain landmarks. And obviously, I've been working for the city for a while, so I'm very familiar with geography. There's several highways that go through the city. So I'm asking him specifically, asking him about these landmarks so he can narrow down which highway he actually came off of.
And was that information ultimately information that was conveyed to you, conveyed to the other Miramar police officers?
Yes. So that particular night, the way our schedule works, it's an overlap of both of our overnight shifts. So at that point, you have about approximately anywhere from 15 to 20 officers working the road. So because of that nature of the call, the entire city was responding to various job duties. So several would come to the actual hospital to work that crime scene, and as well as the primary officer to take over the investigation and detectives. And you have everybody else canvassing for evidence. So we have east to west, State Road 7, University, there's an exit from the turnpike. There's an exit from the turnpike on Red Road, and then I-75 and US 27. So everybody that wouldn't be at the hospital would be canvassing those intersections of major highways to see if they could find shell casings that would be evidentiary of where this occurred.
Okay. And did you remain on scene even after the video ended, the duration of the video, where other police officers arrived?
Yes. So my detail work is until 6 a.m. and accidents happen at 4 and change. So I'll be there until 6.
Were you charged with any other investigative duties?
No.
So this ends your involvement in the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, no further questions at this time.
Any cross?
Yes. May I?
You may.
Officer, when this person you've identified as Mr. Henry came in, did you notice that he was wearing a black hoodie?
Yes, sir.
And I assume that whatever he said would be documented in your report. Is that correct?
What it said initially, yes.
And the questions that you asked him, you would document his responses if he said anything, correct?
Whatever he responded to, I put out evidentiary-wise, I put it on the radio, but I did not write a complete report of our entire dialogue, no.
You did not?
Our entire dialogue, no.
You did not document the location or streets, signs in your report?
I didn't know exactly where this took place, so whatever I could put on the radio for the officers to canvass, I did.
Approximately what time was Mr. Henry taken to a patient room?
I don't know.
Were you aware he was taken to a patient room?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what officers or what doctors saw him?
No, sir.
Were you present when Mr. Henry left the hospital?
No, sir.
Are you aware that he left the hospital?
Eventually, I assume he had to leave the hospital, but I don't know exactly what time he left the hospital.
When this vehicle first arrived, it was nighttime, correct?
Yes, sir.
What time did you get off?
6 a.m.
Was it still dark outside?
I don't recall.
Do you recall anybody or any persons arriving other than police officers?
It's a hospital. They remember them shutting down the ER because of the situation. So anybody would be routed through the main hospital entrance to in and out. But in terms of law enforcement staff, you have other officers, detectives, crime scene techs.
I'm primarily asking you, by the time you got off at 6 a.m., did you see any civilians, not police officers, any civilians arrive at the hospital?
I don't recall. If they did, they could have been rerouted to the front.
Okay, but to your knowledge, there were no civilians that came where you were, correct?
Inside the crime scene?
No, inside the hospital, where we saw Mr. Henry walking towards your desk, or words to that.
So like I explained, the hospital entrance, the ER was shut down because of the nature of the crime scene. So it's still a hospital. So anybody Googles it, it's open. So any civilians could have walked up to the ER and were rerouted to the front, but I wasn't in charge of the crime scene. I have no idea if anybody passed the threshold of the crime scene taken to that particular
The
area.
crime scene was the Jeep?
The drive-through, so including the Jeep.
Okay. Was the crime scene also inside the hospital where Mr. Bortlen Henry was?
Yeah, the whole ER was shut down.
Okay, so in other words, no one was allowed in that area that we saw.
Unless they were needing emergency care, that would go to another room, but the ER was shut down.
So I'm real clear. Do you know the names of all, did you document the names of all the officers and detectives that responded?
No, I didn't.
So we're perfectly clear. Could you stand up? You didn't see this young man getting out of the Jeep at any time, correct?
No, sir.
Fair enough. Could I have one moment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you.
Counsel, is there any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Officer, when you're speaking into your radio or speaking to dispatch, is that logged in any manner?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that called?
That's the central dispatch radio traffic. It's public record, so anybody can request it, but it's documented.
So everything you were saying or everything you communicated from what Mr. Henry told you would be documented in your dispatch log.
Yes, ma'am.
The crime scene log that counsel just referred to you as, were you charged? Was that one of your tasks that you were assigned?
No, ma'am.
In fact, you weren't assigned any duties, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your job began and ended with your detail and assisting the gentleman when he came in, Mr. Cortland Henry.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further on.
Counsel, thank you. Is this witness excused?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may step down. Thank you. Our recording next witness.
State was called John Petchen. Petchen.